You don't have to clap, I haven't done anything yet. So yeah, I'm Mike, I'm the head of digital at Samaritans, and thanks for taking the time to come to social media. It's a blessing, or is it a curse? I'm really lucky to be joined by three really interesting people here. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, you'll do yourselves much more justice than I'll be able to do.
Sure. So hi, my name is Mia. I'm a university student, but I recently started my own podcast. So I've only done a few episodes, but it was kind of off the back of my experience with mental health and wanted to kind of raise awareness and have more conversations about mental health as being a person. So.
I'm Phoebe. Today I'm talking on behalf of PAPYRUS. I am an ambassador for them. I started volunteering for them a few years ago because of my experience with mental health. And yeah, just because it's personal to me, I want to make a change in how we all view mental health and the stigma of suicide.
Yeah, and I'm Justyn, and I go by the name of Bravescar as well. The reason why I go by that name is because when I was 1 year old, I had an accident at home which left me with third-degree burns. So I'm a third-degree burn survivor, so I've got some burns in my body. Since then, I have vlogged about my journey. I've actually vlogged about my journey, and I'm also a personal trainer. So my title is Nike Pro Trainer, so I train with Nike, and also I'm a filmmaker and content creator.
Thanks everyone. I think a round of applause for everyone who's here. We were going to be joined by a fourth panellist, Nikki, who recently wrote a piece about what it feels like to be sectioned, but unfortunately she's not well enough to be with us today, and she's actually in hospital at the moment. She's recorded a short video message for everyone who's here, which I think we have queued up to play.
Hello everyone, my name is Nikki Mattocks. I guess this is a message to say that I'm really sorry that I'm not with you right now. I was meant to be at the Thrive London mental health event today, speaking on the panel about social media and mental health, but unfortunately life happened and I've been sectioned. When we talk about mental health, it's important to know that we all have it, good and bad, and it can go up and down, and it can happen quite suddenly, like it did for me. Like, I'm currently being treated in hospital for psychosis. Yeah, and I guess it's taking every single ounce of strength I have to do this video, because I don't want to miss out on how amazing the opportunity was, but I physically can't be there. So my message for you is my message for you actually is, I was in a really dark place. I tried to end my life in here. I was on one-to-one, and I was injected with sedatives. And when I came around from that, I reached out to people on social media because I've never felt so alone in my life. I put a status on Facebook and I said I've been sectioned again, memes and messages appreciated, and I had like 65 comments, and that really helped me to see that I'm not actually alone as I think I am. So social media, there's a massive downside to it, where we spend so much time on it and we compare ourselves to people, and then there's cyberbullying. But I don't want people to forget that when you reach out on social media, often a lot of the time, you come back and there's loads of messages of support, and that's the message I want to give today, is that, you know, use it for good. If someone reaches out, reach out back. because you never know who you're making a difference to. Thank you. I guess this is...
I think, yeah, one of the key things for Nikki is that she gets a lot of support from social media, and since she's gone back into hospital, she's been tweeting that, you know, like trying to reassure everyone that she's okay, but she gets a huge boost from seeing like people checking on her and making sure that they're okay. What are your experiences of having like support online or like an online community or groups of friends around you, and like how beneficial do you find that?
So I would say that, for me personally, I do think that, as you were saying, that there obviously are a lot of downsides to social media, but I do also think there's many positives, and like from my own personal experience, times when I have felt like down or whatever, and when I even started my podcast, I was feeling really low. It was kind of a way for me to have a voice and to feel kind of connected to others as well. And just the feedback I received of it made me feel like really overwhelmed in a positive way, because I thought people responded saying they could relate to it. I think it can create a sense of community, because you feel like you're not the only person going through certain things. And it kind of allowed you as friends and family that maybe even didn't even know I felt a certain way that let me express it via my podcast. So I think it can be a really positive way also to kind of start conversations as well, and I think to feel supported sometimes if you do feel alone. But
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm an influencer on Instagram. So I have a bunch of followers, and it took me a long time to start being more personal about my experiences. And as soon as I did, I realized how many people were going through such similar things. And especially like younger generations who are so positively impacted by seeing that, oh, this person's exactly like me. It's something that I always wished that I had, and never saw people talking about self-harm or suicide, and it's forced me to find my own community, whether it be the PAPYRUS, Girls Talk. There's so many communities now that have taught me to kind of accept myself more. But I do believe that social media is what you make it. You choose who you follow, and you can have safeguards on there for yourself, because you can fall into a kind of tunnel if you're not careful. But it's just being mindful about it.
Yeah, just to add to what the person said, I would say I've got 3 different social media pages. So I've got one for my film work, one for me as my burns, so like where I connect with other survivors and share positive messages, and the final one, of course, my fitness one. I think across social media sometimes you do build a fear of kind of like having to upload all the time and having to stay current and relevant. And I think that's kind of the downside, because it's like you always want to kind of post up to show anyone that you're still active and still doing things. Whereas on my kind of, I think, Brave Scar page, which is more about my kind of journey, it's more, I think, celebrating just kind of like me being myself and where I'm at. So I think there's it ranges on different platforms on the reason what your page is for. That's what I'm kind of trying to say. So I think finding that kind of balance between and making it have a purpose and a message. I'm all about making things have a purpose. So not just get kind of lost in the abyss of this big kind of social media.
Thank you for all of that. I'm really interested in, there's like a common theme that both of you, all 3 of you, have kind of expressed. Justyn, you were saying like you feel a bit of pressure to upload sometimes, Phoebe, I'm sure you feel the same, and you were talking about feeling overwhelmed sometimes when you see loads of messages come in. How do you deal with that? Like, what do you do when you do feel that kind of pressure? How do you manage that?
I would say for me, I think it's really healthy to kind of limit the amount of time you spend on social media. So for me myself, I try to not be on it all the time. I think it's very easy as well with kind of getting into the habit of waking up as the first thing you're on, you go to sleep, you're just scrolling. So I think for myself, I've tried to set more boundaries. Even like earlier this week, I just logged out my Snapchat, I just wanted a break from it, I just wanted time away. So I think sometimes it can just be not always being on there, and I think even honest with people that do follow you, and just saying, you know, maybe today I don't really feel like being on my Instagram or whatever. And I think it's good to be honest and to kind of let people know how you're feeling and that you are a human and you need time for yourself. And I feel like if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't really give to anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think boundaries is a really good word for that. I've always kind of felt, especially because when you post, you get dopamine when people like it, you get dopamine when people comment on it. It is addictive. And I actually go through phases of completely deleting Instagram off my phone. My page is still there because I get work through it and I can't delete it. Of course I need money. But I think making boundaries, and then also I think what really helps me is following certain pages. Like I follow a bunch of super positive pages that was like memes and titles every single day that you get to look at. That is so fantastic. And I think that has made a difference for me rather than following like models where I look at them and I'm like, oh my god, my life sucks. Because Instagram is, and I'm sure like with Twitter as well, it's a picture perfect of what people's lives, like what they want you to see. It's not necessarily what's actually going on. And it's very rare to see people in the public eye posting about the vulnerability in like those situations, because it is really hard to do that. So it's just taking the time to realize that, oh, everyone is feeling like that.
Cool, thank you. That's actually, it's almost like you wrote my next question, because what I was going to ask was like, what kind of accounts do you follow to, like, what kind of positive stuff do you follow, or what kind of accounts do you go to when you're feeling a bit down and need a bit of a boost?
Similarly to what you were saying, actually, I started trying to do that as well, and I actually even went with the people I did follow and unfollowed even just some celebrities and stuff, because I felt like my feed was just constantly full of, like, say, like, perfect or seemingly perfect like models, and it doesn't make you feel any better about yourself. And I think we're so conscious of, you know, the food that we eat and the diet we take, like, via our, you know, our mouths, but do we really think about the things that we're processing that are constantly going through our minds? So I think for me, it was that just kind of having a bit of a time of going through, filtering what I do follow, and then starting to follow, let's say, more positive, even just like quote, there's loads of places that do like really just little nice quotes, and sometimes that one quote you see on Instagram could make a difference to somebody in that day. So I think it's doing that, and then even sharing those pages as well on your story, so you kind of feel like maybe that quote, somebody else might see that and feel, you know, positive as well. So.
Creates a bit of a like chain reaction, right?
I wouldn't, no one's kind of springs to mind, or no page springs to mind. I think similar to what was just said, I think just that kind of memes and quotes, when you do see them, really make you think and lift your day sometimes. And which is kind of a bit kind of counterintuitive, but I suppose there's quite a lot of stuff going on, a lot of people embracing a lot of like a self-love movement and loving yourself, but I think it's also being very wary of, because with that now comes a lot of brands and a company trying to jump onto that wave as well. So you've got to kind of be careful who's using it as a brand platform and who's using it as, should you say? Yeah. Because then it goes back to the thing of it's once again a picture. So I think people who mix up it as well. So have the perfect nice pictures as well, but also won't be afraid of, is okay posting normal everyday things. Because when you've got that message of loving yourself, like there's a lot of contradictions that can come with that. So I think, yeah, reevaluating constantly what you're looking at and who you're following, what you're following.
I guess, yeah, you want that expression to be like real, right? If you want to be seeing people sharing these like really positive things, you also want the balance that shows they're a real person instead of it just being like perfectly designed quote, amazing holiday photo, right?
Yeah, I mean, I follow certain hashtags on Instagram, like mental health support, and ones where people usually are posting about vulnerable situations that they've been in, and ones with positive outcomes, but also ones that are real, and because especially, I think actually she mentioned in Nikki's video, how she like opened up about her journey on Twitter, and that's how she found her support. And it absolutely is like that. There are so many people who are posting about their journeys and their personal mountains that we all have to face. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about what you do away from social media to look after yourself. So like Justyn, you paint, you make films. Like, how do you find that helps you? Just generally, like, what does that kind of give you?
I think it grounds me in just real life. It grounds me in creating something which is bigger than social media sometimes. And also when you do something and create something, for example, not having to share that, making sure that it's just a thing for you. Movement, fitness has always been a passion of mine, and has become a passion of mine. And recently, I wrote a song with a guy who's actually in the room at the moment about. Oh, where is he? It's not Josh. Yeah, he's a singer-songwriter. Yeah, so we actually got to go on a film which was shown downstairs. Hopefully, well, go show it again. Just so kind of about that kind of whole culture. We actually met up and we just shared words and we spoke, and it beautiful thing came from it. And it just, as I said again, it makes you step back and be in this real world and not having to be so connected to technology. So I just think doing things which make you breathe, make you just take in what's going on around you.
That's really nice. Phoebe, what about you?
Yeah, my professional life, I am a model and also an actress and a few other things. But it means that you are you are being judged a lot of the time, which is very similar to what happens with social media. So what I've found is finding creative outlets that aren't necessarily for me to be judged.
Right.
And actually, you know, it's funny, a lot of, I know you said outside of social media, but a lot of my social media really does help me creatively.
Right.
Because I also direct, which I started this year, and I made a film, and I post about that on Instagram. And it's really nice kind of finding like a niche to show my passion to people, but also exercise, like it's crazy the difference it makes, and then meditation, and also for me personally finding PAPYRUS and volunteering and working with them, and kind of also volunteering at old people's homes and like volunteering at like homeless shelters. It's incredible how much better it makes you feel, and just positive, and like just having conversations with people in those situations. It's kind of, you feel like you're helping, which is the best feeling in the world.
I agree with literally both of you. I think for me as well, it's been kind of finding whatever you enjoy doing, and sometimes it is just a really small thing. Like I recently really love cooking, and it seems like such a basic thing, but like I think it's the cooking, and then you feel some sense of accomplishment once you've done it. So I think it's really important to do things that after you've done them, you feel proud of yourself, and even if nobody else sees, as you're kind of saying, it doesn't have to be a public thing, but knowing that you've done something that you enjoy, and you're not judged on, you can just enjoy that, and even things like listening to music, for me that makes a big difference, especially when I'm feeling a bit low, sometimes it just helps. Small things like going for walks, for me sometimes being indoors sometimes for a very long period of time, even just going for a walk by the river, or going for coffee with a friend, like just the small things that I think sometimes we take for granted, I think for me make a big difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And like as someone who works in like digital, spend most of my day like looking at a big screen or a small screen, and if you spend all day looking at a big screen at work, to go home and look at a small screen at home.
People make you laugh, and people who just love you and embrace you and just treat you like you're an amazing human. Romantic, I love that. It's been finding people that just really value and make you laugh, make you happy, and realise that life is, you know what I mean, we're here for the time we're here.
So you've started a podcast. How has that helped you?
So for me, I think it was something I wanted to do for such a long time, but I was so kind of nervous that I kept thinking there's so many other people doing it and those sorts of things. But finally, I think it was a lot of conversations I had with other young people as well that kind of said they were struggling with their mental health. They didn't feel there was enough conversation about it. As much as I think we've come a long way in having more conversation about it, I think there's still a stigma attached to it. And I think for me, it kind of allowed me to feel like I was making a difference, and even if it's one person listens, for me it's not really about the numbers, but just knowing that I have a platform where I can share what I'm going through, And I think even just off of like 1 or 2 episodes, just the feedback of people just responding saying they could relate, it just made me realise that I'm not in it alone, so it kind of helps others and helps myself as well, knowing that, you know, we all have shared things that we're going through, that we're all human and we go through the same things. So I think for me it definitely helped me to feel a sense of, you know, I'm helping others, but also helping myself, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it just gave me a sense of, it's something that I really enjoy doing, so yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. Like, how much work is it?
It's not easy. I think it's definitely hard, especially because it's kind of just me doing it. Like, my first episode was just me just talking into a mic, which was like scary because I'd never really done it before. Obviously, I've never edited like prior to this, so I have to edit it myself, upload it myself. So it's and you do feel scared because you're, you know, voicing how things you're going through. And especially being vulnerable, I think is a hard thing because, you know, it's easy to maybe go on somewhere and make jokes, but to just be kind of fair and honest with what you've gone through, I think helps others, but it is a scary thing as well because you kind of feel like once it's out that anyone can listen and but yeah, I did get positive feedback, so it's hard, but I feel like it's worth it.
Cool, thanks. Phoebe, you wrote a really interesting piece for Girls Talk called Behind the Instagram. What was the process of writing that like? How did that feel?
How did it feel writing it? I think I'd already opened up on my Instagram quite a lot, which started off as just reposting memes about certain things, and it kind of gradually became more and more honest. I started talking about my depression, I started talking about my anxiety, trying to end my life, my eating disorder, all of these things that kind of like, I began to bear myself loads. And similarly to you, the reception you get of other people going through it does make you feel less alone. And so in turn, it's such a wonderful feeling. And having Girls Talk, who I work with quite a lot now, asked me to write a piece. It was like the coolest thing ever that they wanted to like share it to like all of their followers. But I'm very honest, and just writing it I just wanted to explain like my situation and how a picture of me in a bikini, which I've been paid to put up, isn't necessarily me being happy that I have to post it. It's just, it's not what it seems, and it's so much more complex than people think, especially body dysmorphia and eating disorder. It just ends up being, and people have no idea. And so writing it was really, I actually didn't share it on my page because I was too nervous. But as time has gone past, because I didn't bring up my eating disorder publicly, it was the last one out of all, because it's something I still face today. It's something which I haven't gotten over, and I'm not depressed at the moment, and my anxiety is controlled at the moment, kind of. And so it was the last one I kind of opened up about, and so I didn't share it, but I actually should. But it definitely helps. I think people don't realise how much sharing helps it, but even if, and I'm not saying it has to be a public sharing, like I see a therapist and it was the best thing I ever did. Even talking to your family, even talking to your friends, opening up to someone who cares and wants to listen does the world of good. And it just happens that I did it publicly as well as privately.
Thanks. Justyn, could you tell us a bit about how you got started with being Brave Scar?
Yeah. It was around, I was 22 years old at the time, so I'm 26 now, and I remember sitting at my job. I was an office manager, so I was sitting behind a desk in a media production company with all these directors coming through, and I was just fresh out of uni, like a year. I wasn't really directing a lot, and I was just thinking, what's my next story? I was just thinking I really want to pick up a camera and do something. And around that time, I wasn't feeling too great about myself, so I was, nothing to do with how I was feeling, but I was a lot heavier than I was at the moment. And mostly connected to my scars really, it's like I hadn't really thought about my body a lot of the time, so I said to myself, I just wanted to change. And that change looked like going to, after work I used to go to the gym and run the treadmill for 45 minutes. Started drinking a lot more water, started cutting down in offices. I know some of you work in, there's like a biscuit tin, and you can have any biscuits you want, so I had to curb that. And also I looked inwardly and I said to myself, what would happen if I changed the way my scars looked and kind of embraced that. And that journey, I had reconstructive surgery, so I've been through hospital and I was awake being cut open, so I've had various things happen to my body. How it kind of looked like was I knew I couldn't get rid of the skin and my burnt skin, and I didn't want to. I wanted to see what happened if I maybe got more muscles or had a tattoo to it. So as that happened, I said, you know what, this is a story. This is, how about I share this story? And I created a Brave Scar, and it started as a blog, which I eventually won a competition called the Blog Star Challenge. And it was so scary to see in my body on camera. Mostly, I haven't seen anyone. There was one guy growing up in my whole time I saw with a burn scar. It was a boiler man that came to my house to fix my boiler. And so I haven't on TV, hadn't seen anyone with a scar, hadn't seen anyone like me with a scar. And every time I had to show my body, every time I had to show my scar, I said to myself, this is for the little boy who never got to see someone with a scar.
Yeah.
And every time I get so scared now, so my new thing is I'm going to start swimming. I tense up, I have to take myself off and show my scars. But I say to myself, this is bigger now, this is Brave Scar, it's not just me, it's going to be everybody and it's a legacy. So whenever I get scared to do anything, to show anything on social media, I say to myself, yeah, so that's how it started really, and that's how it's carrying on. It's just snowballing from there. So I'm so scared as hell. But I just say to myself, yeah, put that kind of arm on with Brave Scar, it's going to be.
That's really cool. So you kind of touched on this already as well, actually, but social media can really bring people together who would like never otherwise normally meet. Why do you think that's really important?
I think that it's really important, as kind of you said, because I think it often is people that wouldn't usually meet, and I think it's really important often to kind of step out of your world and interact with others, because I think you learn so much from one another. Do you know what I mean? And even in this kind of like I've learned so much from these and respect them. And I think it can really do a great world of good, especially on topics such as mental health and things that, as I say, so many people are going through. And I think the more that people share amongst each other, it does really help to do great good. And I think that definitely in my experience at social media, you end up interacting with people and like so you wouldn't necessarily meet the person at a bus stop, but you end up having conversations and creating links, and you never know what will come from one conversation that you have with someone, or you don't know what your one message to somebody could mean. So for a lot of people it could save lives, like literally. So I think it's really important to kind of network with those that you wouldn't necessarily meet as well. So
something, there's good and bad sides of the internet and of social media, but I think finding those people that you would never meet in real life, you learn so much, and also I think it's that whole not reading a book by its cover. It kind of teaches you and reinforces that, well, actually, like, we may have grown up on the other side of the world, don't know any of the same people, don't like any of the same things, but are feeling the exact same things. And like, it kind of, when I speak to someone and they're like, oh, I feel a certain way, and it's something that I went through when I was 13, it kind of reinforces that my feelings are valid. What I went through is valid, what I have to live through is valid, and vice versa, it does the same for them.
Totally agree with what the girls said as well. I suppose for me as well, rule number one is people. Some people are, I can't say the words, but some people are, do you know what I mean? Whatever words you want to put in there. So that's rule number one. Rule number two is that some people are really open, kind, honest, and need you and need to hear what you've got to say. One of my biggest things that keeps me here, keeps me on this world, keeps me alive, is laying in bed and getting a DM message through from someone in Iran who said, I saw your page, I'm so scared to, this is true. I've never shown my body, thank you. A young girl, like 17, it blows your mind. Yeah. And then again, an email comes through, or DM comes through from someone organizer from here saying, hey, do you want to speak on a panel at City Hall? Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, and when those moments happen, you think, this world, I'm a small person in this world, but, do you know what I mean? Miracles can happen, opportunities can happen. my story can be heard, my voice can be heard. Those are the moments when, minus the first number, people are just, do you know what I mean? Someone in hopefully out here in this room can take away anything we have to say, and I'd love to hear once again what you guys have to say. So I say there's miracles that can happen on social media.
Cool, thanks. I'm going to put all three of you sort of on the spot now by asking if you had to recommend that people in the room follow like one account in particular that you found really helpful, what would that be?
That's a hard one. I think there's one, I hope you have the name right. I think it's called The Good Quote, I don't think I'm it, but yeah. And they're like really, really good quotes, and as it, no pun intended, but yeah, they massively help me. Like, I always take note whenever I see one of their little quotes, you just screenshot it, or just even take my camera roll. Sometimes you just want to look back on something.
Yeah.
And that helps me get through my day.
Can I say a couple?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. PAPYRUS, obviously, PAPYRUS_UK if you're on Instagram. And they're a charity, prevention of young suicide, and it's actually for anyone under the age of 35. Then also there's one called The Book of Man, which is a online publication which is kind of specifically for men, but also for everyone. I wrote a piece for them about mental health as well. Girls Talk, also for everyone, but it's mainly for women, but for everyone too. They're amazing. And then also Human, which is mainly for men, but also for everyone. Yeah, there's loads, especially what's a great feature with Instagram is if you find a page that you really think is positive and inspiring and helps you, you can touch the little arrow on the right hand side and it gives you similar pages, which is also great. You end up like following like 20 accounts that just like fill everything with happiness. Lovely.
I'm just because my wrong @ is on the screen, I'm just going to correct it and say it's @BeingBraveStar. So that's a little thing. So if you could, yeah, I would say just to correct that. Also, I would say Mental Health Foundation is an amazing one. Thrive London obviously is an amazing one as well. Anywhere, any organisation or charity that affiliates with you really, and because they post a lot of opportunities to get involved. So any communities that you belong to, even though you all belong to different subcultural communities, anything where you can get involved with and help really, I would say, and can help you in turn. And also just any Instagram that make you laugh as well, any social media page that make you laugh, that you can go on and just get a good chuckle or charity from that. That's going to keep you laughing alive. And let me know of the pages as well, because I need to desperately do a laugh right now. So I would say this one.
Cool, thank you. Today is obviously World Mental Health Day, and there are tons of organisations like PAPYRUS, like Mental Health Foundation, like Samaritans, who do quite a lot on this day and promote quite a lot of their services. I guess what I'm going to ask is do you think that seeing those kind of awareness campaigns and seeing more and more celebrities and influencers talking about mental health, do you think probably that's a helpful thing? And do you think that kind of news helps? Do you think that helps young people?
I think in my personal experience, I would say that often it has helped me. I think particularly when you see people that you look up to, being open and honest about things they're going through. I think especially where for so long on social media, it was all, perfect pictures and you often feel really bad about yourself when looking on social media. I think it's really nice when you go in there and you see I think a while ago I saw it on my Jama, opening someone I look up to, opening up about, her struggle with anxiety and depression, and it was wow, it's not just me going through it. And I think it's nice when we can share, especially when somebody that, thinks often celebrities don't really talk about these kind of things. And I think when you have that influence, obviously they can reach a lot more people than me, for example. So I think it is really cool when you see that, because you can feel you're not the only one, and there are others obviously out there who are of influence and maybe seen as well. I think it's often people have this idea that depression looks like a certain thing, and you don't necessarily, there's so many people that are low that you don't even know, and people I think can be misled into thinking that they're maybe exempt from going through all of us have mental health. So I think it's helpful to see people that especially you maybe had no idea what you were going through and things. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I think think that's a really important point. Like a few years ago when I joined Samaritans, like every news story that was about depression just had someone in the picture like this. That's not what it looks like.
Totally. I agree with obviously everything. But comparison is such a thief for joy, and you do find yourself comparing yourself when you see people on the news, everything, and like not just social media. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add to that, except for like, no.
Yeah, I would jump on and say just kind of like I was gonna say this is really funny song, but money doesn't eradicate problems. Living in a big house doesn't eradicate problems. Driving nice cars doesn't eradicate problems. Looking quote unquote what society says perfect doesn't eradicate problems. Having a number one song on the charts doesn't eradicate problems. Just recently, Lizzo just came out to go with down with really bad depression, and then the next day she was performing on the MA Awards. Even at Justyn Nelson, like you say, like they did perfect live, you're the winner X Factor, you've had all of this, do you know what I mean? Why are you upset? Because they're humans as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's when you kind of look past the facade and say, but you look like this, that's like toxic positivity, telling someone just because they've got all of this, they've got all of that, they should generally be immune from having feelings and being upset. So mental health balance, with day to day, like missing the train, then you're left for work and you get shot by your boss, that's going to pay on you.
Yeah.
So, I said again, everyone's sharing the small thing they're going through, not being pain is kind of tough thing. If you're upset, you're allowed to be. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be upset, but it's not staying in that, I would say. So, yeah, it is positive when anyone shares, because we always tend to look at someone and say, look, you're better than me. You're not me, you're better than me. No, you're just like me. So don't ever think that anyone is better off than you.
Yeah, and about you mentioned about brands and everyone kind of like, it does seem like it, and I do hear like Piers Morgan saying it, but everyone jumps on the bandwagon. And I do hear a lot of things about people saying like, oh, we shouldn't talk about suicide because then it means more people are going to do it, but that's not true. It's a complete misconception, and I think it's really wonderful that brands are jumping in on it. To be honest, because even if it's coming from a selfish place, the fact that they're raising awareness, the fact that they're making it more normal, because it is normal, and for so many years, especially for men, they were not allowed to talk about how they feel, and it was so judged. And I think the more people see it, and the more people realise that it's okay to feel like that, especially kids who are growing up and seeing everything, it's nice. The self-love and the acceptance of who you are and everything, I think it's a good bandwagon.
Cool, thanks. So obviously there is, like, we focus on the positive side, and there is a downside to using social media, and like as we saw from what went out, was that what, a month ago, or 6 weeks ago, people can get like a lot of sustained abuse through social media. Why do you think it's important to like speak out about that stuff, and like if any of you have experienced that sort of thing, what kind of advice do you have for people to kind of shut that stuff down?
I think speaking out about it is very important. I think that documentary with Justyn Nelson was like so for me, like I was in tears, but I think it was so important because as you were saying, kind of people do often think, once somebody, has this so-called perfect life, they've got money, they've got this, that they're somehow fine or they're somehow immune. And it was like, the comments that people were writing were just horrific. And to think that people could even think to type those kinds of things was insane. But yeah, I think that for me, I think my struggles with social media have been, comparison is a big one for me. Like I think just, going through your page, seeing all these girls that, have a certain body, and you do sit back and you often just feel so bad about yourself. And I think what's helped me has been to realise that Instagram is not real life. Like it's a snippet as well. Like a picture is a snippet of somebody's life. It's not the whole story. You don't know what people are going through. And I think even in my own experience, I remember like even just Snapchatting, and people would say to me, oh my gosh, you don't know you're living your best life. And it was like I was in such a bad place. It was like if only you knew. So I think it's really important to bear in mind that it's not the whole story, and that nobody is perfect and we all are going through the same issues, and I think raising awareness and speaking about it just helps us to relate even on a deeper level, you know, knowing that we're all different, you know, from different places in this room, but I'm sure we've probably all gone through very similar things through social media. And I think just being aware is very important. Kind of as before talking about mindfulness, I think it's so important, even in terms of social media, being aware of how it's affecting you as well, and that it's okay to take a break, it's okay to, like I say, you know, look out of Instagram sometimes, and have that detox and that connection to the real world, because I think as well, even though it's called social media, I think in a way it actually isolates people a lot of the time. Like for me, it's made me feel like really lonely. You know, you can sit there thinking that, oh, I don't have any friends and all these people have such, you know, a great life. But yeah, I think as that documentary showed, you really don't know the reality that people are facing. So I think as well, just being kind to one another, like, is a really important thing because you really don't know.
Yeah, I've had some really horrible comments before, really mean about the way I look. And I mean, I just believe them and pretend that it didn't happen. But people are faced with mass amounts of that, and I think it's just, for me, I have to remember that these people are being horrible because of the way that they feel about themselves. And it's actually really sad that there are these people who can write such hateful comments to try and make themselves feel better, and I think it's just having pity on them that they could be in that. And also, PAPYRUS has a really wonderful video which is called Bedtime Stories, which is about, because it's not just the famous people who get the hateful comments. There's cyberbullying, online bullying. I kind of just missed that. Like, I didn't have Instagram when I was in junior school, when girls are quite mean to each other. We had like Facebook, and it was a lot different then. Now there's a lot more pressure for young girls. I mean, I know friends of friends who have younger sisters who post really sexualized photos of themselves on Instagram because they want to get likes and they really need it to be shown because of obviously the expectations. And I think it's just about creating a platform where you are open and honest about that and how that isn't necessarily what's important. And just sharing that so that more people catch on to it and share it and share it and share it. That it's not the most important thing. Other people have the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Obviously, bear in mind that the two girls have said like perfectly and excellently. Adding on to it, just summarising a bit, you're logging out on social media sometimes, putting it down, knowing that, you know what, everything on there is crafted for you to see. Picking up what Phoebe said just then, in regards to people hurt people. So if someone wants to say something mean about you, they're probably going through something themselves. So don't take anything what anyone says to you as me as a Bible. You need to remember when someone is self-loading onto you. People who love you will tell you something constructive. And what I want to add into that, I would say, so my takeaway is, my big part, just do really be carefree as well. My thing is, we've only got, from what I know, we've only got one go at it. Wear what you want to wear. I wasn't the way today, I thought a bit too much, but you know what I wear. Be a bit carefree with life. Get out there, experience life, take every opportunity, say yes, and don't let anyone who has said anything, don't believe it. Look in the mirror, say to yourself every day, say 3 things which you know you're amazing at, and try your hardest to say bad about yourself. If you have to, balance is good. We're all amazing, unique individuals. Everyone in this room has got something that I don't have, and that's phenomenal. And keep that with you, keep that alive, and keep that gift, because that's what's going to make you stay here a bit longer, I would say.
Thank you. I think that's like 3 really great pieces of advice from 3 really great panelists. We are totally out of time. But thank you so much for sharing everything, and I think a round of applause for everyone for taking part.